The man went out for dinner with his parents during the Spring Festival. The meal cost 800 yuan. When it was time to pay, the waiter handed him a bill for 88,000 yuan. The man thought there was a mistake with the bill. Right after that, the waiter gave him a note. It turned out a man had charged his son's 80,000 yuan graduation dinner to the man's bill. The man also left a note, claiming he was the man's uncle. The man looked at the note, and directly dialed 110. He said he had been scammed out of 80,000 yuan at the restaurant. The man's voice was not loud, but guests at the nearby tables all heard him. The waiter's smile froze instantly. His lips trembled as he looked at the man. The man's father and mother were still in shock, their eyes filled with confusion. The father cared a lot about saving face, so he persuaded the man to let it go. The mother echoed his words. The man understood their reaction. In their world, the word police was only associated with criminals. But the man did not hang up the phone. He calmly reported the exact address of the restaurant. After hanging up the phone, the entire lobby fell into an eerie silence. The waiter ran to the manager's office. Less than a minute later, a middle-aged man walked out quickly. He whispered to the man, urging him not to call the police. The manager walked to the man's table, and glanced quickly over the man. He picked up the 88,000 yuan bill, and picked up the handwritten note. He pretended to examine them carefully, as if 80,000 yuan was just a little joke. At that moment, a sudden burst of anger rose in the man's heart. The man looked straight into the manager's eyes, and said clearly, word by word, for a consumption of as much as 80,000 yuan, without the bill owner's signature, and without a phone call to confirm, the restaurant had no right to charge it to the man. The smile on the manager's face disappeared completely. The diners had originally just been watching for fun, but now after hearing the man's words, many of them pointed at the manager and talked in whispers. The manager lost face, and showed his arrogant true colors. He threatened the man that if he did not pay the money, he had the right to have the man arrested. Instead of being afraid, the man took out his phone, pointed it at the manager's face and pressed the record button. The manager's arrogance vanished instantly. He stared at the phone's camera, but could not say a single word. The man's father and mother stood behind him, watching his actions. They finally realized that the son they still thought needed protection had already grown up. About 10 minutes later, two police officers in uniforms pushed the door open and walked in. The arrival of the police immediately dispelled the awkward atmosphere in the lobby. The manager, who had been angry just a second ago, put on a flattering smile the next second. He trotted over to greet them, talking while trying to block the police's view, and wanting to lead them aside for a private chat. The police officer walked around the manager expressionlessly, and went straight to the man. In front of the police, the man recounted what had just happened. He also handed over the 88,000 yuan bill. The police officer took it. The young police officer pointed his body camera at the two pieces of evidence. After listening to the man's guess, the police officer thought that the restaurant had no right to make the man pay, just based on a single note. The police officer looked at the manager, whose face was pale, and began to question him sharply. Sweat broke out on the manager's forehead, and he stammered while trying to explain. In the middle of this awkward confrontation, a dramatic twist suddenly happened. The front desk waiter from earlier ran over unsteadily, holding a wireless phone in both hands. She said the call was from the uncle who had left the note. Everyone's eyes instantly focused on the internal phone. The man sneered to himself, thinking that the scammer dared to call actively, even when the police were already present. A sharp light flashed in the police officer's eyes. He quietly winked at the man, and then turned on the recording function. The police officer signaled for the man to answer the call. Under everyone's gaze, the man pressed the speakerphone button. A strange voice echoed throughout the entire lobby. The mother stood behind the man, shaking her head blankly. She did not know this person at all, but the person on the other end of the phone still pretended to be close, and talked about the man's childhood. The man was sure this was a scam tactic, and did not believe a single word.